Hi, I'm Adam O'Connor, and I'm on the Cultural Matters podcast.
Adam O'Connor. Isn't
Hi,
that
Chris.
Irish or something?
It is. It's an Irish background. I'm English myself, but my family comes from the Republic of Ireland. Yeah.
All right, Adam. Good to have you on the show here. First question, as always, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I don't know a lot about you either, actually, as a matter of fact. Where do you come from? Well, you mentioned the UK, with a background in Ireland. Where are you now? That I know. And explain to us your so-called cultural frame of reference, please.
I'm originally from London in the UK. As I said, my family Irish, and I've been working in sales and around the world for the past 20 years or so. I lived in the Philippines for 10 years, and have been in the outsourcing industry. So I've come across um, pretty much every different culture you can think of. I run global sales teams. I have people in all of the different locations around the world, and I also deal with customer bases from everywhere in the world as well. So there's been some real culture learnings that I've had along the way.
And this is you do this for a company, or this is your company?
No, I work for a company.
Okay.
I recently I moved to a new company about 9 months ago now, and we're building up across the globe as well. So I've just brought in three VPs of sales, one based in Singapore, one based in the Ukraine, and one based in the United States of America.
Okay, what's the middle one? It's Singapore
The Ukraine,
and
Singapore,
Ukraine.
the Ukraine, yeah, Ukraine, which is has its own challenges at the moment
I,
as
I,
well. So
I can imagine. Yeah, and we're
yeah,
we're trying to avoid politics, but we will. So it's a
we are.
because this is we're talking about business here and intercultural management. Was the Philippines your first posting outside of the UK?
It was, and that was a bit of a culture shock as well. So that was 2012. I popped over to the Philippines for 3 months and ended up staying for 11 years. So there
And of
was
course, you stay for love, right? As
that's
everybody does. I mean,
that's right.
I've done the same
The
thing.
wo- the work there. So when I moved to the Philippines, I was employee number 59 in the company that I was working. There was a need to have me on the ground in the Philippines for 3 months.
Mhm.
As I was there for the 3 months, we grew exponentially. I learned the local culture and how to work with the Filipino workforce and other people, and it ended up staying there for um, the benefit of the company and myself. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the climate. I enjoyed the culture of the people there, and I learned a lot while I was there as well. So
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. It's what was your biggest shock going to the Philippines?
the biggest shock going to the Philippines was um, people would stop me and say hello. And I don't know if your listeners are welcome in London, have been traveling in London, but people don't tend to talk. If you're on public transport or you're walking down the street, if somebody says hello and smiles at you, you think you're in trouble. So
Yeah.
um, in the Philippines, everybody was so friendly. They would take me out on the weekends, and one weekend I wasn't feeling well and said, "Ah, you guys go without me." And they told me, "No, we've only been going out every weekend to keep you happy and make sure that you enjoy the Philippines." And the national pride of the people who I was working with was something that really stuck with me. So
It's an interesting phenomenon that you actually mentioned, Adam, here. Is because, I mean, you're from London and you say, okay, London, we don't talk to each other. We walk straight past each other, right? I mean, I live in Paris. I come from Amsterdam and I go back between Paris and South America. And at
yeah,
first, being in South America, I mean, you have to get used to this in a way. Okay, it's Spanish in this case, but they say hello. And I think, what the heck do you want from me?
yeah, exactly.
And then okay, but this it's just a hello. It's nothing more. It is just a courtesy out
No,
of and in Paris, I mean, my experience more so than in London is indeed people ignore you, whatever.
exactly,
And
exactly.
and
Yeah, the
but
same.
Same there.
And
But it's a pleasant experience, right?
absolutely, yeah, it was really pleasant. And I was staying in Clark, which is an old American air base, and to see the growth of the culture, the people, the middle class of people moving up
Mhm.
within country was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I spent about 11 years there, and when I first arrived, everything was on a one level. All of the buildings were on a one level. The roads weren't great, and by the time I left, they were sky rise. It was turned into a real metropolis. So
Yeah. 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 Do you work, if I'm not mistaken, in preparing, I think this is, I hope I got it right, for a company called Gear Inc. Gear Inc.
correct, yeah.
What do they do
Gearing.
exactly? I mean, you're in sales, but what does this company do?
So we're an outsourced services provider. We provide low cost employees to companies, and also our main focus is within the trust and safety workplace, the back office, call center, and working with some of the largest companies in the world to provide support around the world in different locations as well.
Okay. All right. And you are in the sales branch of that.
Yeah. So I look after the sales team, the marketing team, and the commercial team within Gear.
All right. You're a big man.
I'm 6'6", if that's what you're asking.
Okay, that I can't see. And by the way, if
Yeah,
you're listening to this on the podcast, we also got a video recording of this that you can find back on YouTube, right? So go ahead and find that. Link will be in the show notes to get to the video. The, you mentioned a couple of countries. You've lived in the well, you're from London. You're in Turkey right now. You lived there for 10 years a little plus or something like in the Philippines.
in the
Another country?
Philippines. Yeah. That's basically it. But I've visited lots of countries. I'm in Turkey on my way back from Thailand, the
Okay.
Philippines, and India as well.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay, so there's India, there was Singapore, there was Ukraine, there's the US you mentioned. With which
correct.
country? Okay, the bar the Philippines. Do you have the most experience? As in you
Um,
being your role and you being Adam.
Yeah, the UK, the US. I before I started work, I used to travel Europe all the time. So I quite like Amsterdam. That's one of my favorite cities.
Mhm.
I've been. I quite like Poland. I really like Poland and the people there and the culture there. Um, Italy is my favorite place in the world in terms of the heritage, the way. But doing business there is very difficult.
Right.
Um, Although the most difficult place I think that I've done business is probably China. It's just completely foreign to any other business meetings and things that I've done before.
How about Japan? Any experience
I've
with that?
only a little, not a lot, and more from me overseeing Japan rather than me actually being involved in any of the deals there. Yeah,
All right, this is not meant as a judgmental question, but you came from India, you've got some experience with China. With which
yeah.
country do you think you, as a Western, or maybe even a Brit, or yeah, Western,
Mhm.
which country is easier to do business with? Is it China? Is it India? And usually I add Japan to the mix as well, but you don't have that much experience there.
Yeah, um, it's very different, and I say that
Mhm.
for me personally, it's probably China. I find China probably the easier of the two between India and China to do business. Um, However, even if you look at the US, within the US, there's probably 6 or 7 different ways of doing business, depending on where you are in the US around the geography as well.
Yeah.
People like to do things differently. So it all depends on where you are. But for me, China, the Chinese market, they're very upfront. They tell you exactly what they want from the start. When you give them a price, they want you to come down on that price, no matter if it's the lowest price you've ever given in your life. But you know what you're getting. With the Indians, when we work with Indian customers, we could think that we've got the deal, and right at the end, they can then ask us to change some things and move around.
This is
It
about
moves
the
slightly.
Chinese, right, Adam?
Correct, yeah. So
Yeah.
the Chinese, and then and that's kind of the difference there. So
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. And the because I when I work what I recall about my experience being in China, a couple of cities I've been, and the big one, Beijing, is that I mean it's so full of people and it's busy. At least when I was there, it's busy. So many people around, but I've never felt so lonely in this enormous
Yeah.
city because. I mean, only in the metro, there's some level of English at the metro stop. So for the rest, nobody knows.
No.
You-
Yeah.
How do you deal with that
And
in
you're
doing
stuck.
business? Pardon?
You take someone with you that can speak Chinese, or you're with somebody, but being by yourself there, it could be a scary place, as you said, and very lonely as well. So
I mean, lonely as in what happened to me is some people walked up to me and of course they think I'm American or well, at least they see. I
yeah,
mean, obviously I look different, and they want to speak some English if they have a certain level of English, and then I think you must be a spook. You're spying on me. I don't know. And then all of a sudden I was approached by two ladies, and they suggested we were in the Forbidden City, which is a one-way street in a way.
yeah,
We were in the Forbidden City, and at the end they asked, "Would you like to come with us to drink some tea?" I got really suspicious.
yeah.
And the only
But
thing,
again,
yeah,
that goes back to what I was saying before. Like in London, when nobody talks to you, if somebody offers you to come and have tea with them, straight away you're going to think it's
yeah.
different, it's strange,
And
it's
in
yeah.
the
So
end, we only had tea, and that's it.
yep,
I don't know if they were spooks or not, but they were sweet people, anyways. Is
that's it.
there? Huh? Yeah, go ahead.
And you got some nice tea out of it, I'm sure. So
Yeah, well, it was it. I mean, I like that kind of experience. I mean, that's why I do what I do, also
absolutely.
because I like what I do. So that makes it easy. So I don't call it work really. But it's not about me. It's about you, Adam. It's so you could interview
Sure.
me if it makes sense, but not now. Is there any area that you specialize in, or any area that the company that you work for specializes in?
In terms of the business that we do or the
Because it's
locations?
so international. Because it's so international.
Yeah.
I mean, you could specialize because the market is really big, or you could specialize in a certain country because it's just easy to do business with.
Yeah, so we I guess our specialization is that we provide over 75 different languages underneath us in terms of customer support.
Okay.
We're in over 20 different locations at the moment and expanding rapidly. On in Europe, in Africa, in the Middle East, in Asia, in South America, and the US.
Mhm.
So we really look after, and companies tend to come to us when they're looking for worldwide coverage on certain aspects because all of the languages that we can provide, you only deal with one provider rather than having multiple providers, multiple contracts that you're dealing with. So that's
Mhm.
really where we specialize.
Okay, so it's more a line of business and not so much a country or a
Correct.
culture
Yeah.
specific. And for yourself, what is a country that you just like doing business with because they're easygoing and you like the atmosphere, if that makes sense?
The Australia is probably my favorite country in the world to do business with. From the start, you know exactly what you're doing, very upfront, not shy in telling you what they think, and I find it really refreshing. When you do business in London, people can beat around the bush a little bit, and you have to work to find out what you're doing. Whereas in Australia, they'll say, "No, this isn't working for me. You have to do this," or "This is really good, but things." And I really appreciate that and like that. So.
Okay. What, in your experience, what's an upcoming market, or what is a booming market, or an area, excuse me, an area of the world that is actually making a lot of progress?
Um, at the moment, if I look at Asia, especially, I think you're going to see Indonesia coming through. You're going to see Vietnam pushing through. Thailand is very, very good already, and people are aware of that. But the Asian countries are really starting to come. The Philippines is moving up as well in terms of the outsourcing market. It's very, very strong. So they're where I would say is up and coming.
And for my next question, I need to mention the date. We're recording this on April 28th, 2025. Given the geopolitical situation, I think that's the most neutral I can phrase it. Um,
Sure.
is any of this either helping or hindering you?
It's both and neither at the
Yeah,
same time. And
yeah.
the reason I say that, obviously doing business within the US at the moment, people are looking at um, if it's possible to do the work with the outsourcing market. Do they need to do nearshore, which is people within the states working with their companies?
Mhm.
But by the same token, as the economy around the world slows slightly, people look to cut costs. With cutting costs, they look for um, low cost solutions and how to do that, and that drives people towards me. We unfortunately we went through COVID, but what COVID had done for the world was it made people work from home, which then meant that people were used to working remotely, which greatly helped me within my industry because once you figure out that you can run your business in a remote way, the next logical step is can I find the same skills to when I'm looking for somebody new to add? Do they have to be within the same city or can they be somewhere in a low cost location still do the same job? And that's where we're at as a market and as an industry at the moment. And we're growing and growing. So,
So your okay, so your personal preference is doing business with Australia, and you
uh,
find it, I think from your statement, find it relatively easier to do business with China in comparison to India. Is there a
yeah.
really difficult country and a really easy country for the company in general?
Um, no, I wouldn't say anywhere is really easy to do business or really difficult to do business. Each country has its own challenges and each country has its own um, nuances, I would say, in
Yeah.
terms of how you do things, how you get things done. For the work that we provide, we have customers in China, we have customers in the US, and they're two very very different markets and two very different ways of doing business and getting deals closed. So
Okay. Then, so you're, can I call you head of sales? Is that okay? Sort of okay?
head of sales, that's fine. Yeah, yeah, you can
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that.
I
No
mean,
problem.
but then again, so okay, so I'm looking at this pyramid. You're at the top, and then there's
Yep,
different countries and different people there. I mean,
sure.
selling, if that's my idea at least, nothing is culturally neutral. I mean, when I do a workshop or start a lecture or something, I talk about humor, and I showed
Yeah,
three different sides of humor, and people always so far always agree with me that no, that humor is not culturally neutral. And if something like
correct.
humor is already not culturally neutral, then for me, nothing is culturally neutral. Because hopefully you get a
Mhm.
smile on your face every day. So do I, hopefully.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that with sales in all these different countries?
So with you find people with expertise within certain regions, and you add people to that to be able to grow your business. If I were to go into China, and I'm only using China because I have experience, if I were to go into China and try and sell as a fresh faced young guy from London,
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever be successful whatsoever. But having somebody to coach you, having somebody to watch and learn from within that within that culture, within knowing how, okay, when we go out for dinner, we might talk for 2 hours about the day, about everything but business. And right at the end, it might be 10 minutes about the business deal that we've actually gone to meet
Uh-huh.
about.
Yeah.
Knowing that kind of thing and not getting anxious within that meeting, you can only learn from experience. It's not something that somebody can just say to you, "Oh, this is going to be how it's going to be." I think so. You learn the different cultures. You bring people in with the right knowledge to be able to help you to get there, and then you impart that upon the group of people that you're working with.
How do you assess that? I mean, how do you know from the outset? I mean, I'm applying to the company. I'm applying to the company. How do you
Sure.
how do you know whether I'm any good?
Well, the first thing I would do is to talk to you about sales in the first place and understand your process and what you do. Then I would look and think, okay, so Chris is from Amsterdam and he's lived in Paris. He knows, I would imagine he knows that kind of European area and what he's doing there.
Uh-huh.
From there, I would bring you on and see how you got on there and then understand what else you know and work with the other people within the team to bring you across to other regions.
Is there is there then do you do any aptitude tests or anything psychologically?
Yeah, we to be honest, we used to do the tests and the psychological tests, but in especially in sales, what's most important is trustworthy. And although some of your listeners may find it funny, I really believe in ethical sales practices. So I don't want people who are going to lie and just try and get people to sign on the line and walk away. The industry that we're in a low margin, high volume business. So we
Yeah.
don't make a high margin on every sale, and relationships is the most important. Talking to you, understanding, making sure that you understand in terms of the sales process and how to sell to people, but also your character. Without doing a test, just getting to talk to you and understanding who you are as a person is much more important to me than a aptitude test.
I find that interesting. I mean, I find the last remark interesting because we know, I mean, I studied psychology, or organizational
Sure,
psychology, which basically talks about the fit of human beings in an organization, right? And we know the interview is the most invalid way of assessing how somebody will perform. And still, we can, I mean, I'm not attacking you, Adam, but it's
sure,
something
sure.
that we can do without that somehow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable hiring anybody unless I felt comfortable with that person.
Yeah.
From a cultural fit within the team, as we talked about, I have a worldwide team. If I brought the wrong person into that team, A, it's not going to work out for them, but B, it can really disrupt the team. If you've got somebody who's really selfish and only after themselves, if you've got somebody who doesn't want to give as much as they get,
Hmm.
it's going to be really detrimental for the worldwide team. And we do have to jump some hurdles in terms of cultural differences. I mean, I'll give you an example. In the Philippines, when we were working in the Philippines, the workers tend to say yes to everything
Yeah.
because they don't want to upset the boss. So when you explain something to them, you say, Chris, do you understand that? They'll say yes. And that's just how it is. So what you have to do is you have to turn around and say, Chris, can you explain to me how you would do this part of the sale?
Hmm.
And let them tell you. Because if you give them a yes, no answer, they're going to say yes when you put them in the situation they don't actually know because they're more scared of upsetting you
Yeah.
than getting the question wrong. So making sure that people fit culturally and understand those kind of things is something that we will train on as well, especially if they have people underneath them,
Hmm.
um, and making sure that they fit into the team as a whole is very important. And I agree with you. Interviews are probably the worst way of doing it, but you can feel a lot by looking into somebody's eye, talking to somebody, and understanding their background, and then you do the reference checks, make sure that they've done what they say they have,
Mm.
and from there find the fit.
No, it makes, I mean, it makes good sense. I mean, I'm no different than you to the extent that we
Yeah,
are, I mean, we're human beings and we are emotional beings. So we need
correct.
that human contact in a way, because you could be the best salesperson, but if you come across like a, excuse the French, like a jerk, then
Yeah,
I don't want you. But
people are going to buy exactly.
exactly, but you could be fantastic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So yeah, these kind of things. Um, I hate doing sales. I would not apply to your company, at
sure.
least not for this kind of job. Fortunately, I don't need to do that a lot. It's, but do you follow within your organization, or you maybe Adam yourself? Do you have a certain sales strategy? As in, I do a one, two, three, four, A, B, C, D.
I follow quite a few different methodologies within
Uh-huh.
sales, and I keep up to date with them. I still really like the spin selling Neil Rackham from back late '80s, I think it was. I still think it has relevance today in terms of how you sell. They've moved on to the challenger sale now as well, which is a lot harder. But I still feel that the ethical sale and consulting with somebody, understanding what the problem is that you're trying to solve,
Mhm.
and coming up with a solution tailored to that person is the most important thing you can do for anybody when you're selling. It would also it will also keep that customer happy and keep that customer coming back to you if you do a good job. So,
Mm. And is that a strategy? And because that is, well, tactic strategy, I think eventually there's
also,
overflow. Is that something that works in every country that you work in?
I think so. I think so. I obviously in certain situations there may be customers who try to take advantage of the salesperson as well, but that could be in any culture or any country also. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always think that doing the right thing and doing the best you can for the customer is the right way to sell to anybody.
yeah, yeah. In the end, eventually, yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about my own experience here
Sure, sure.
because I've got some decent experience. I mean, I lived in the States, I lived in Belgium, I'm living in Paris. I come from Amsterdam. I've got a good experience with South America, and every time I come back to the Netherlands, I'm surprised by how rude people can be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
is a way of culturally growing, I think, going back to your my home country, my home city, if you want, and then experiencing, are we like this? And yeah, we are.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's different. I mean, living in the Philippines for as long as I did, family is the most important thing out of everything. And then
Yeah.
coming back to the West, where we've kind of got away from those family values, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but when it's not the number one, people want to earn the most money, people want to drive the best car. In the Philippines, everybody wants to earn the money to provide for their family and make sure
Yeah.
their family's looked after first, which I brought back to London when I moved back, and it really changed my perspective on life as well. So
It's good. No, everybody should do this at least, and then I
absolutely,
think we would have some sort of a better world. Okay,
I
Adam,
agree.
I'm looking at the time here and looking at the recording that we've done so far. I'm gonna come to my last two questions, if I may. One that I prepared you for, which is, can you give us, from your experience worldwide and with the the years of experience that you have, some three cultural tips to become, or to three tips to become more culturally competent?
I think I touched upon this number one before. Don't ask open-ended questions. Don't ever ask a yes/no question because people find that very easy to say either yes or no to.
Uh-huh.
And working within different cultures, that might be too. Always try to be understanding and um, don't ever close something off because somebody's doing something different. I've worked with lots of different cultures. Make sure that you're understanding of how they work. And lastly, I would say always praise in public and discipline in private, no matter where you are in the world. It's the universal thing to do. And they would be my three tips.
Always praise in public, and what's the other?
And if you have to tell somebody off or condemn somebody, do it in private so that
Uh-huh.
it's not in a public forum.
Okay. All right. That's a difficult one. I mean, how do you praise? I mean, I'm thinking about somebody from China or India. If you praise somebody in public, you've done a good job, but then you come back and say, this was horrible. That's going to hurt, right?
Yeah, yeah, but you don't do that in front of everybody. You have
No,
the
no, no,
one-on-one
no. Okay.
conversation with, yeah, yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, that I understand. That I understand. All right, Adam, if people want to get in touch with you, or you or the company that you work for, how can they do that?
They can contact me on my email, which is adam@gearinc.com.
Adam at?
One
Sorry?
gearinc.com,
Uh-huh.
GEARINC.com.
Not a problem. Okay, that'll be in the show notes. All right. Well, thank you so much for well, not being in Turkey, but calling from Turkey. I know, calling from Turkey and being on the show. And I'm pretty sure
Thanks,
we'll
Chris.
bump into each other in the future.
We will. It's been a pleasure. Thanks very much for having
Thank
me.
you, Adam.